Welcome back to the channel. I'm Greg Allen F1. If you come across this channel, please consider giving me a like and subscribe if you like the content that I put out. Today we're going to be looking at the 2021 Constructors, the teams going into the 2021 season, just about a month away now. And it's not necessarily a prediction video. You could look at it that way, and I'm going to look at where the teams finished last year. More, I want to take a look at where the teams are headed into the new season. Lots of changes happen in this offseason, and where I think they stack up against each other, and kind of what I'm expecting to see at the start of this season based on the moves made. We've had rebranding of teams, new drivers coming into the sport, and other drivers moving around, and in one case, an old driver returning to the sport in Fernando Alonso. So taking a look at last year's standings, we had Mercedes and Red Bull at the top of the field. The midfield was a lot closer with McLaren, Racing Point, Renault, Ferrari, all in there, AlphaTauri battling out, and then you kind of had the back of the field. That's your Williams, your Haas, and your Alfa Romeo. I don't see much majorly changing on where these teams are going to be battling the back of the field, mid-pack, and front. But let's take a look at how they stack up. Starting off with number 10. For me, number 10, Haas F1. And here's why. I think they're going to take a step back once again. They had the issues with the Ferrari power units last year, but on top of that, Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean didn't really perform that well last year. I was very critical of them in my videos all year long because of that. Some of it deserved, some of it not deserved, for sure. The team is really underperforming, and I think they're going to take a step back again this year before they start making a step forward. They have two brand new drivers with absolutely no Formula One experience coming in there. Mick Schumacher, I think, will be a star in the sport in 4 or 5 years down the line. Probably not with Haas, though. And, of course, Nikita Mazepin, I just did a video on him. He's got the PR issues following him, and it's, for me, a little too early to tell if he's going to be a viable, solid Formula One driver. But either way, that's not really the surrounding stories that you want following two brand new drivers into the sport. Mick Schumacher is going to bring a lot of really good PR for the team, but Nikita Mazepin, maybe the other way. And you're also hearing some rumors about the investors into this team, Gene Haas's future with Haas in general. It sounds like he wants to possibly sell out of this sport in general, and what that means for the future of the team. There's a lot of question marks around that, and I wouldn't be surprised if Haas has a rough season, if we see some other major players in that role. I don't want to say specific names yet, but if some other major members of that team wind up leaving, and it seems they have a lot of high turnover even with their engineers and roles. I see it online all the time, people going in and out of that team. That kind of volatility in the organization has me concerned for Haas. I think they take a step back, mostly because they have two young drivers, and we just don't know where Ferrari's power units are going to be. So we'll see. And with that means Williams is going up by 1. Williams, of course, finished 10th. Haas finished 9th in the standings last year. I think they flipped this year. Williams has the new ownership that has come in with Dorian, and I think that, for me, it's George Russell. That's the reason why I put him up there. George Russell is going to score points with this team. We've seen what he can do. I think the team's going to get a little bit better, a little bit faster this year, and I think George Russell is going to find himself in the points, where I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see any Haas driver getting the points this year. You never know. It could be a totally crazy season. Anything can happen. That's just how I see it. I think Williams has more to be excited about right now than Haas does. And I think George Russell is a legitimate star who's going to be in a Mercedes 1-2 years down the line. And we're going to be talking about him winning races week in and week out. I don't think he's going to do that, but I do think we'll see him in the top 10 a few times this season, at least, in that Williams. Coming in 8th, I've got Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo, for me, did the right thing, and they kept their same driver lineup. I know Giovinazzi doesn't have a lot of support among fans in F1, but I thought that I saw a steady improvement and consistency from him. And, of course, you got Kimi Räikkönen in there, and I love that they kept the same driver lineup. The stability in that team is going to help. If the Ferrari power units come out a little bit better this year, and they figured out some of the issues they were having with that straight line speed this year, I think you'd see Alfa Romeo having a little bit better. Kimi Räikkönen is absolutely capable of getting more out of a less performing car. He's such a good race car driver. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think 1 year of age is going to make a big difference from him, being like 40 years old or, whatever he is now, 41 I think he is. So I don't think that's going to be a big issue. And Giovinazzi had a great ability to gain spots in the opening couple laps last year. So if he can take that and build off of it this year with maybe a little bit better performing car, I think Alfa Romeo may go up basically a little bit more in the points. I don't see them finishing higher than 8th, though, going into it. Coming in number 7, now Alpine Racing, formerly Renault. I do have new magnets and stickers coming. I've ordered them. They should be here for the new season. But for now, I'm going to have to use the old logos for some of these teams. For me, they're going to take a drop back. So they finished 5th in the constructor standings in 2020. But a lot of it was because Daniel Ricciardo was just on fire. And Ricciardo leaves the team. We get Fernando Alonso back. Esteban Ocon showed some good improvement last year, and I think that that'll continue. But I almost look for, in my opinion, Esteban Ocon to be the more competitive driver initially. Fernando Alonso is super talented. I've always been a Fernando fan. But you take 2 years away from the sport, it's going to take some time. And that's just my opinion. And with the new rebranding of the team and a new team principal coming in, I think there's a lot of question marks there, and I'm concerned that Fernando Alonso is going to come in and dictate the way things go at this team, which is a good thing and a bad thing, but I think either way it's going to take time, and I actually suspect that they take a step back this year because of it. And coming in 6th, and this was a team that I kind of wanted to have a little higher, but I can't quite just because of where they finished last year. They finished 7th overall, so I have them going up a spot. At least as in power rankings going up here. Pierre Gasly, if you watch this channel at all, you know I'm really very high on Pierre Gasly. I think he's fantastic, one of the great stories of last year. He has come so far as a driver. And now we get Tsunoda coming in, who, it wasn't I think it's a little early from the come in, is I guess what I'm trying to say here. But I do actually think he's going to be a very, very good driver. I think he'll be a future of Red Bull. That's what Red Bull wants. I think he'll probably be in that second Red Bull seat in about a year or two. I think Checo's going to be there for a little while. And then I think this will be the natural progression. I don't think you're going to see Pierre Gasly or Alex Albon make a comeback at this point. I think Tsunoda is going to be the guy. I'm a little worried about his first year and whether or not he's coming up a little too quickly to F1. But if he is as good as everyone says that he is, we could see him and this team really take a massive step forward. I think the new car looks great too, so that'll be great. And I think Pierre Gasly will be as good as he was last year. So a little bit of improvement for the team. Just a little question mark in that second seat, although I do think it's an improvement from who they had last year. In 5th, I have Ferrari, who finished 6th overall last year. I think Ferrari is going to improve this year. I think their lineup is stronger. That's not a knock on Sebastian Vettel, by the way, as you'll see later in these standings. It's that I think they have the team that they want now, and I think that's going to settle things down a little bit. Carlos Sainz is a fantastic driver, and Leclerc is absolutely very good too. We saw him get a lot out of that car last year when it wasn't very good, and I think Ferrari can't be as bad as they were last year. Do I think they're going to be right back up there battling with the Mercedes? No, I think we're going to have to wait for 2022 and the new car for that. But they will get more speed out of it this year. They're going to be a little bit better, a little bit faster. It wouldn't surprise me if they're further up in 3rd or 4th sooner than we think in the season. But for now, I feel comfortable having them in 5th, a little bit of improvement. In 4th, Aston Martin, formerly Racing Point. Racing Point had what a year last year. Checo gets a win. Lance Stroll showed a ton of improvement, and they signed Sebastian Vettel. And with Vettel in there, these cars are fast. They look really, really good. And I actually expect them to just take that next step again this year. So they finished 4th last year. I have them 4th here this year. But it would not surprise me if Vettel podiums. I think you're going to see Lance Stroll podium again more this year. And it wouldn't surprise me if one or both of those drivers get a win. And that's the honest truth. I think that they are very capable, and this team is going to be very fast again. I think that some of their advantage they had last year with the pink Mercedes things, some of the other teams have caught on to what they were doing and are going to catch up a little bit on that. But I think that their driver lineup is really good, and I think this team is still trending upwards for me. Number 3, obviously, maybe a little biased here, but for me it's McLaren. And why not? McLaren finished 3rd overall last year, and I think their driver lineup is even better this year. Daniel Ricciardo might take a year to get used to the McLaren car, but this is an awesome lineup. For me, a dream lineup of Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, my 2 personal favorite drivers in F1. The meme machine, as everyone's talking about, being online. But I also think they're super focused. Lando had a great start to the year, a rough middle part of the year, and then an okay end to the year. So I want to see him kind of be a little more consistent and improve. And Daniel Ricciardo was lights out good last year for Renault. It did take him 2 years to get there, so maybe we're looking at that be something similar. And the big question mark, of course, is they're switching to the Mercedes power unit, which for me either means this team is going to go to the moon and be fantastic this year, or maybe they don't have it figured out quite yet. So could be interesting, but if it does improve their speed, and this team's able to build on that, McLaren could be really good this year, and I think they're close. They're on the cusp of being right there with Red Bull and Mercedes. They're still far off, but they're close to making that next step, in my opinion. I just like everything that they've done over the last 2 or 3 years. They've been constantly building this momentum. Which brings number 2, Red Bull. And I believe that Sergio Perez going to that second seat is going to solve that problem. And I think that you're going to have a situation here where Sergio Perez is challenging Max Verstappen and pushing him, which is what Max needs, what Red Bull needs. They've had way too many question marks in that second seat, dating back to all the way when Ricciardo was there. They clearly put all of their efforts into Max Verstappen. Ricciardo leaves, and they have not been able to figure out that second seat ever since. They've handled that second seat incredibly poorly. I have been extremely critical on this channel of how they've handled the number 2 seat at Red Bull. Until now, I think they made the right move. Sergio Perez being in there, he's a race winner last year. Honestly, maybe the best driver all year in Formula 1 last year. Every time he was in the seat, he was getting more out of that car than anyone else, and had more impressive runs all year long than I think anyone else did. In my opinion, he was driver of the day a bunch. And when he did win that race, the way he did it was just so impressive. I'm so glad that he's in Formula 1. It was crazy at the end of the last year that we thought he might not be in F1 at all next year. So this is going to be a really fun team to watch. If they can get it together and have a little more luck, and if Sergio Perez comes in there and fills in the gaps that Albon and Gasly, for whatever reason, couldn't do in that seat, and can qualify up front with Max Verstappen and be up there in those top 3, top 4 spots week in, week out, and put that pressure back on Mercedes, Red Bull could be in a really good spot. I believe Checo's going to win this year. I believe Verstappen's going to win a couple times this year. And I think it's not going to be the big Mercedes runaway that we saw in most races last year. However, these are the same cars. These are the same, mostly same setup of what we had in 2020. It's another year before we get to the new car, the new setup. And because of that, I still think that Mercedes, now that they've actually signed Hamilton, is significantly gapped ahead of everyone else still. Valtteri Bottas had a forgettable season, full of bad luck and full of underperforming, in my opinion. No more exemplified that fact than his issue with racing George Russell, where he was pretty much outrun by Russell all day long. But Hamilton's back. Bottas is really capable. If he has a little more luck on his side, these two drivers, I fully suspect to handle things business as usual. I don't think anyone else can challenge them for a championship this year. I think Lewis Hamilton is going to win his 8th title this year. Maybe Bottas can actually challenge him a little bit more. For Valtteri Bottas, he has to be thinking this might be it. This might be his last year in Mercedes to actually become a world champion of the sport, and we'll see how he responds to that pressure. But I think Red Bull are going to be good enough to actually pressure Mercedes a little more, and it'll be interesting to see how Hamilton and Bottas handle that. If Bottas has all the bad luck he had last year and Hamilton gets left alone to not have the 2 Mercedes strategy options going for pit options throughout the year, who knows? Maybe things get a little bit closer. I just think that based on equipment alone, caliber of driver, and the caliber of that team, with all the pieces still being there, at least for 1 year on that contract with Hamilton, this team is way, way too good for anyone to actually catch them. So no surprises there. Either way, can't wait for the season to start. We're super close. And as always, thank you so much for watching these videos. Like I said earlier, give me a like and subscribe. Lots more videos coming. I'm getting more frequent updates now, and should have a lot more content throughout this F1 season. Next video up will be the driver power rankings going into it. And let me know if you do come across this video, if you want me to do all 20 drivers or just the top 10 like I usually do during the season. I think I'm going to do all 20, but we'll see. Catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching.